tense and nervous and I can't relax. It's 3 a.m. I'm on the seat. Time for another misogynist tweet. Psycho tweeter, qu'est-ce que c'est? Go baby, baby. Run, 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 run away. Crazy Mika, low rating, low IQ. Rude Rosie, obnoxious and dumb. Crooked Hillary, such a nasty one. I put them all away with just 2 thumbs. The president's crazy. Did you hear what he said? Sad. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's lost her mind.
I'm a genius.
This universe is Miss Piggy.
I'm so clever.
Carly Fiorina, look at that face.
What a comeback.
Megyn Kelly is bleeding from her wherever.
Worthy of Lincoln.
Psycho tweeter, qu'est-ce que c'est? Baby, go baby. Run, 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 run away. Oi, 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 oi. Me. The only thing shorter than my views is my attention span. Psycho tweeter, qu'est-ce que c'est? Go baby. Run away. Oi, oi, oi. Psycho tweeter, qu'est-ce que c'est? Go baby. Run away. Losers.
I said, what kind of a man is this?
Could be other people also. There's a lot of people out there.
You're not a nice person.
Says who? Says who?
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's that time again. Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM, emanating from hot downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Streaming at WMNHradio.org, which you can find, of course, on the TuneIn app, so you can take us wherever you go on your mobile device. And let's see, of course, we're on Facebook Live on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, which is one of the ways that you can interact with us. Of course, you can also give us a call, 603-250-6007. It's even on that sign that Jenny made, 603-250-6007. It is Thursday, August 30th, 2018, and Jenny's here in the studio.
Hi.
And we're also joined by Ricky L. in the Facebook Live chat, who says, afternoon, Matt and Jenny.
Hi.
So there you go. And boy, you seem thrilled to be here.
I get dragged into everything with you. I'm tired of getting dragged along with stuff with you.
That's right.
Everything's,
yes.
Just little tired of it.
Yes.
Little tired of your world.
I don't blame you. Imagine how I feel. It's exhausting. By the way, that was
What if
Roy.
I don't want to be here all the time? I get dragged around to all the things that you want to do. What if I want to do something I want to do?
Yeah, well, you should get a radio show, and then you'd have to drag me to it. There you go. See?
Why does it have to be something that you want to do?
Solved your problem.
Yeah, why does it have to? If it's something you want to already do, what's the point? What if I wanted something I wanted to do?
Right, yeah, but I mean, you could drag me to a radio show. There's other radios.
If I had something to throw at you right now,
I think they're all.
I would totally throw it at you right now.
They're all full here at WMNH, but
I need something.
I mean, right
Bro.
now in the other room, I think someone's trying to get a show, and he was told no, and it caused a big argument.
If there wasn't
That's a very, very
such
inside joke.
expensive equipment around you, I would so throw this at you.
Well, that's not nice. Why would you do that?
You're getting on my nerves.
Keep on stabbing me in the back.
Well, I'm sorry. So, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we listen to the interview that I recorded earlier this very morning. This is brand new. This is fresh.
Is it good or is it snooze fest?
I think that's what the kids say, right? They say fresh. Yo,
No.
yo, that's fresh.
No.
They say that, don't they?
No. It's like the 1980s.
Ricky knows what I'm talking about.
You're like 3 decades behind.
Ricky, I'm actually gonna
Give it up.
I'm actually gonna give this a try.
Give it up.
Ricky Litwinkovich. I think that might be right or close to it. You can let me know, Ricky. But I do like to call him Ricky L.
You can let me know if you want me to like go over there and whack him for you.
Did you cop that new Ricky L album? It's fresh.
Oh man, will you really?
Well, they don't say
Really?
album. The kids don't say album.
Really?
They say joint. Yo, did you cop that Ricky L joint? It's fresh. Do they say that? Not joint as in cannabis, but you know what I mean. They also say joint
Will
for
you
music.
just stop it?
Musical projects.
You sound ridiculous.
Well, I try hard.
You
You know.
sound absolutely ridiculous.
Our demographic research.
You're attempting to
shows
sound
that,
like somebody who's like 16 and it's not working.
Actually, preteens are our core audience, according to
oh,
the
that's what you.
according
yeah.
to the firm that we hired here at the
just
station.
Stop.
We spent a
Just
lot of money.
stop.
We spent a lot of money on
It's
that research.
terrible.
Well,
Whoever told you that lied to you.
I think, I mean, they did show me charts and graphs, so I assume it's correct. And I think there was a spreadsheet involved. You can't argue with a spreadsheet. Sorry, I must bring that out in him, Ricky says. Ricky
Bring it out.
Litwinkovich.
No, trust me, it's not you, Ricky.
I'm feeling more confident with the way I say his last name, Litwinkovich. That actually sounds correct to me. Tell me if that's correct, Ricky. All right, so I'm going to play for you my interview with congressional candidate Terence O'Rourke. Terence had been on the show before, maybe a couple of months ago, maybe not quite that long ago. Again, as I always say, in the Trump era, there's this time distortion effect. For some reason, a year,
That's
for
because
example,
in your world, the earth is flat.
a year seems like 1.5 presidential terms. So there's a lot of time distortion. But so Terence had joined us. Actually, I've interviewed him twice before today, technically, because he had joined us here in the studio live one day, and then it was on a Tuesday, and then we went upstairs, and I got to also participate. John Hopwood and I interviewed him on Ward 13. But today we kind of got an update from him. He wasn't able to come in live, but he gave me about 25 minutes of his time this morning on the phone. And, he's obviously a very busy guy. Every day is busy for him. But, the primary is coming right up, and he is vying for the Democratic nomination for the CD1 congressional seat. He did have that dust up with one of his opponents, Morris Sullivan, which we did talk about a little bit during the interview, but we talked about some other things too. It wasn't all about that. So without further ado, this is my conversation from this morning with congressional candidate Terence O'Rourke here on Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon. Okay, everyone. So we have joining us via phone a gentleman who's he's been on the live show before here in studio, but obviously he's very busy because the primary is approaching quickly. Mr. Terence O'Rourke, candidate for CD1 here in New Hampshire. He joins us via phone. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing?
Very well, very well. Thank you for taking time to join us today. I know things are getting really busy for you, and you're a busy guy. And you got in addition to the campaign, of course, you have your day job and whatnot. You should probably just for people who aren't familiar with you and maybe didn't hear your previous appearance on the show, why don't you go ahead and give us your background and so forth. You're obviously you have a military background, which I want to kind of touch on in a moment too, because there was some recent controversy in the campaign. But go ahead, sir. Tell us about yourself, please.
Yeah, so I'm currently the city attorney for Rochester, and prior to that, I had spent most of my legal career as a prosecutor. I was a assistant county attorney both in Rockham and Carroll County, and I was also an assistant United States attorney. And before that, as you sort of touched on, I was in the United States Army. I was an officer in the field artillery. I was stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. I was in an airborne unit, and I spent a year in Iraq as a operations advisor to an Iraqi infantry battalion, and so that's sort of working backwards who I am and what I've been doing.
Yes, yes. Now, we should talk about, I guess it's kind of the elephant in the room, but your one of your opponents, Maura Sullivan, she had some campaign literature and so forth out there talking about being what was the phrase that she used? Did she refer to herself as a combat veteran?
Well, it's more than that. She says she fought in combat.
Okay, so she actually,
on top of being,
she actually used that verbiage. Okay, so that was your key objection, obviously, because I don't think we don't currently now even allow women literally in combat, right? Or how does that work exactly?
Oh no, yeah. Again, you gotta. I haven't been in the Army since 2007. So I don't really keep. But excuse me. Yeah, females, soldiers and sailors, airmen, and Marines, are allowed in combat units now. I don't know the extent of all of it, but I know we've had some female soldiers graduate from Ranger School and that sort of thing, and from infantry school. So I'm pretty sure it's wide open at this point.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. But her, what was her experience? What because I think from what I've read, her counter to your criticism of her is that she was actually she served in a war zone where she was, theoretically in potential danger and so forth. And that's, so her argument was that it's perfectly permissible for her to use that language. I mean, what was your response to that?
Yeah. So just for your listeners, I could put it in a little context. We were having one of these Democratic forums a few weeks ago in Dover, and we all have an opening statement. So I was giving my opening statement, and as anyone who listened to the show prior that I was on, one of the big positions I've taken is ending the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and basically wanting to force Congress to declare war if they're actually going to go to war. So that's what I was talking about. When I was talking about my experience in combat, it was in relation to that. I was telling the audience, I'm the only person in this race who's fought in combat, and I have I know what I'm talking about, and I'm against these wars. So that was the context, and I talked about the number of service members killed, and of course the number of what I consider to be innocent Iraqis who have died in that war.
Yeah.
She talked, then Mr. Pappas spoke, and then she gave her opening, and she chose to somehow make my invocation for peace about her. And said, well, you're essentially accusing me of not being a combat veteran. You owe me and all women an apology. And I took exception to that. I said, Maura, you weren't in combat. You're not telling the truth. You never left the forward operating base. So why, basically, you shouldn't be saying this. So after that, she sort of continued this attack on me as being some sort of sexist. So then I came out and said, you know what, Maura, if you were in combat, being a Marine, you'd have something called the Combat Action Ribbon. Produce it. If you have it, produce it, because I have a combat action badge, which proves that I was in combat, and I produced my what's called a DD-214. It's basically this sheet of paper when you leave the military that has all your entire career encapsulated in one piece of paper. So I said, just show us your DD-214, show that you have a combat action ribbon, and I'll shut up. And of course, she doesn't have one, and she can't show she does have one, so she just continues to just lash out.
Okay. And I mean, has this kind of become? Do you feel like this is sort of taken over the campaign and the media, or do you feel like it's blown over and at this point you're able to get back to the issues? I mean, obviously I'm asking you about it, but we haven't talked on the air since this all occurred. So
right. Well, I think it's important that the voters know this. I mean, obviously this is a person who's recently moved to our state, and the only reason she moved here was to run for this congressional seat. She's never lived here before, has no connections here, has no family here,
Interesting.
Never has had a job here in New Hampshire. So to me, it's all part of this sort of issue of her having some real integrity issues and not being honest about who she is and what she's doing here. And, she wants people to have this idea of her, this sort of perception, but if you peel any layer back, you don't have to peel the onion back too far to find out that there's no there, you know. And this is just, to me, another example of her trying to sort of co-opt, you know, the idea people have of combat veterans and put it on herself when it's just flat out not true.
Okay. So we can move on from that. I do want to ask you a little bit more about in terms of ending the wars. And what is our current status in Iraq? Because some people will make the claim, oh, well, we're already out of Iraq, but obviously we still have some troops there. And I know it's easy to get bogged down in the semantics of, well, what are, you know, because some will say, well, sure, we have troops there, but they're not actually combat troops or this and that. So I myself tend to get very confused about what exactly our status is in Iraq. I know that we have some troops there, but I don't know exactly what they're doing and what their designation is.
Well, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
And that's been a real problem since we re-engaged in Iraq. You know, we never fully left, but of course we don't have the large numbers we had certainly when I was there. So towards the end of the Obama administration, you know, as you know, because of the situation with ISIS and what was going on in Syria, we kind of re-engaged. And the Obama administration was also not forthright in the number of troops we have there, and that's continued into the Trump administration. From what we know now, I mean, the best guess is that there's, somewhere around 10,000 American troops in Iraq.
Wow.
You know, the idea is that they're sort of advising, again, as I was doing, 11 years ago, supposedly advising the Iraqi army in their, battle against ISIS, which of course led our soldiers. It's not just soldiers, but our service members into Syria, and again, it seems like it's mission creep, that they continue. More and more people are heading over there, and more and more nebulous mission, because you see reports that ISIS has been largely, driven out of Iraq. So it does again beg the question: why are we still there? And
right.
And how many times can you train these people? Right.
Right.
They have to have their own army. It's their country, and at some point, they've got to do this themselves without expecting America to drop, 10,000 soldiers in when things get hairy.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because you mentioned we call them advisors, and if I remember my history correctly, I think that was how we in Vietnam. When we were escalating in Vietnam, that was the term they used. Well, we're not sending, initially, we're not sending troops. We're sending quote unquote advisors. They're just there to advise. And then, of course, they're the ones actually flying the bombing missions. And because you can only advise someone so much, and then you have to kind of at a certain point maybe just do it yourself. And that's what happens.
And that's honestly what we were doing when I got there in 2006. We were told that this is the year the Iraqis step forward and we step back. And I remember saying to an officer next to me, I was like, isn't this Vietnamization?
Right.
And they didn't want to hear that. And then, of course, midway through my tours, when General Petraeus took over and we started, the surge, and it was just, like you're saying, yeah, we had the Iraqi soldiers with us, but we were there on the ground fighting alongside them. We were the ones who had, were calling in, fire support. We were the ones, bringing tanks and all this. So it was the Americans doing the fighting, and we had our Iraqi troops just kind of along for the ride in a lot of ways.
Right. And then,
which I'm sure is what's happening there right now.
Sure. Well, what about the argument that if we ever leave completely, the whole thing is just going to implode?
Well, people know the history of Iraq. It's essentially a country that was made up by the British Empire to begin with, and they don't see themselves. And that was another thing you talk about. I think Orwell would enjoy this. We were always told, call it the Iraq Army, not the Iraqi Army, because Iraqi implies some sort of ethnicity. Because they never saw themselves as Iraqi. They saw themselves as Kurds or a member of a particular tribe. Or I'm a Sunni, I'm a Shia. From this area, from that area. Their last names would still say where they're from.
Sure.
So it's very regional and very parochial in a way, and so it isn't a real country in any sense where you think, well, okay, France is where French people are, and Britain or England is where English people are. They don't. This idea of being Iraqi was imposed upon them. So if that country splits into three countries, a Kurdistan to the north, in the middle would be where the Sunnis are, the so-called Sunni triangle, and then of course the south would be a country, a majority Shia. That's probably the way it should be.
Okay.
So I don't think that would be some great tragedy if Iraq became 3 separate countries.
Sure, sure. Now, what about Afghanistan? Because it's interesting how with that we don't really hear about it much in the media anymore. It's kind of I don't know if it's correct to say it's America's forgotten war in a sense, but obviously we continue to have a large presence there. But I think people just literally forget. Like, I have conversations with people, and Afghanistan comes up, and it's like, oh yeah, we're still there.
Exactly. No, you're right. And Afghanistan at the beginning was certainly less controversial than Iraq. I think people understood at the beginning of Afghanistan that Al Qaeda had planned and sort of the brain power in terms of execution of September 11th was happened in Afghanistan. So there's an idea, we got to go to Afghanistan and root out Al Qaeda, and of course the idea that the Taliban was supporting them, so they had to go too. Well, now you're right. It's 17 years. This fall will be 17 years we've been there. Al Qaeda does not operate out of Afghanistan in the sense they did before. I mean, we're at the point where we're negotiating with the Taliban, so the idea that the Taliban had to go, that's gone out the window. So then, again, it begs the question, why are we in Afghanistan?
Right.
I don't think anybody can answer that question. And another worry you have to have in terms of the actual nation of Afghanistan is we're changing the ecosystem there. We've been there an entire generation, 17 years, and there's large swaths of their economy that sort of rely on us, the universal us, because obviously NATO is there as well, being there. So if we don't get out now, not only will we have no idea ever to get out, we're changing their country, this culture in their country, in a fundamental way that they may never be able to sort of regain any identity of their own.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a psychological component that happens where Americans are, when you start talking about ending wars and getting out of places, that there's a part of something psychologically that happens in the macro where Americans feel like, oh, that's surrender. We can't leave because that's, people will make the argument, well, we shouldn't be there. Oh, but we can't leave either because they feel like that's giving in somehow. And I feel like that's unfortunate because I feel like that's, that's how those who profit from war keep us in these situations to begin with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can get into that all day about how these wars perpetuate themselves because of all the money in the defense industry and how, people are diversifying their portfolios on Wall Street by investing in defense contracting and the defense industry. But, when you talk about, yes, Americans think, oh, if we leave Iraq and Afghanistan, there's no ticker tape parade in Manhattan, did we lose?
Right.
Well, we were told as the war fighters that we weren't at war with the Iraqi people. That, initially, obviously, there was some, we're going to remove Saddam Hussein. That happened, right? He's gone, and the Baathists were removed, and that we were there to help the Iraqi people.
Right.
And we were told we are not at war with Iraq. We are not at war with Iraqis. We are here to help foster a burgeoning democracy in the Middle East and to protect that nascent democracy from the insurgents or the terrorists, the quote bad guys who, I couldn't tell you on a given day who they were, but we just knew they were there that we were going to protect. So I get what you're saying, I can understand the psychology of it, but I think if people understand that in both Iraq and Afghanistan, the soldiers themselves, we're being told and it's being beat over our head that you are not at war with these people. You're not at war with the Afghanis. You're not at war with the Iraqis. We're not here to defeat them.
Right.
We're here to help them. And so I mean, maybe the message is when you end that we've helped all we can, and good luck.
Right, exactly. I like how you put that. Well, we should mention some other key issues. Do you support Medicare for all, by the way, in terms of health care?
I do, and I actually go a little probably beyond. So there's 11 of us running right now, and 8 of us are supporters of Medicare for all. I actually take a step further than the other folks, and I do believe Medicare for all is sort of the next step to getting us to universal health care coverage. But what I would like to ultimately see in America is a national health system like they have in Canada, like they have in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been talking a lot about Italy's national health system. So as we know, Italy had an election a few months ago. They haven't been able to form a government. This is nothing new in Italy. This is not a stable democracy. This is no one's idea of a stable democracy.
Right.
It's no one's idea of a well-run government or a well-run country. And they have a myriad of problems, particularly economic, where you have the strength in the north and essentially a welfare state in the south. Yet they are somehow able to provide universal health to their citizens, spending less than 9% of their GDP. They have the number 2 ranked health system in the world, and their average life expectancy is 84 years. In America, we spend 18% of our GDP on health care. It's the 37th ranked system in the world, and the average life expectancy is 78 years. So the difference between the two systems, just on those stark numbers alone, is 6 years of your life. We could spend less money, and you can live longer, healthier lives. So to me, it just makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is, and I, personally, I've been warming to the idea, and the Koch brothers actually had commissioned a study which said that, and I give them all the credit in the world for releasing the results of this publicly, even because, and you probably saw it. There was a study that concluded that Medicare for All would actually be cheaper. And I think more efficient and more effective than what we're doing now, and the Kochs let that study get out there into the information ecosystem. So I'm working. I'm warming to the idea myself. So
yeah, when I first started, hearing about this, talking about this, I was in college, and when you're a kid. Your healthcare comes with your parents, so it doesn't really
right.
It doesn't really enter your consciousness. So we were talking about this in political science class, and I went to college at Marquette University in Milwaukee, so it was, upper Midwest area, and so the auto industry is very big there, and that was in the mid to late '90s, where our auto industry was taking a beating compared to our European and Asian competitors, and that was a time where these are business people, and of course the labor side saying we need universal health care to be competitive, because Chrysler, or not, Mercedes and Nissan, they don't have to pay the cost of their of health insurance for their employees, and they don't have the legacy cost for their retirees the way that GM and these other companies had. So they were saying to be competitive, we have to have universal health care in this country, and I think when you talk about sort of two sides of the issue, you want to do the left and right divide. To the folks on the right, to the extent that they're a pro-business party, this makes sense from a business point of view, not just on these big companies like our auto manufacturers. If you're starting a small company in New Hampshire and you hope to become a slightly bigger small company, at some point you're going to run into having to provide health insurance for your workers, and
right.
that may stop you from expanding. And if you have universal coverage as an employer, as sort of an innovator, you're not going to have to worry about that.
Right. We have, I don't want to keep you too long, just a couple more things. I know that, and I was reading about this online, that you support a New Deal type program for infrastructure. And I can tell you, too, I mean, just anybody can see it just driving around here in New Hampshire when you look at the condition of our roads and our bridges. And I'm sure that this is a problem nationally. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that? Because you, from what I saw online, you actually evoke the term New Deal, New Deal type. So yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about that, please.
So right. So as a city attorney here, my number one customer within the city is the Department of Public Works, because it involves all sorts of land use stuff, and most of the guys or the heads of the department down there are all engineers. So you talk to them a lot about roads and condition of roads and bridges and all stuff like that, and then you start looking at it, and these engineering groups put out grades. They grade like you would get a grade in school. And our infrastructure overall is basically an F. You have bridges at a D minus, roads at a D. Airports at a terrible grade, seaports. So you start looking like, wow, this isn't good. This is really bad. This is an emergency. And then you realize that a lot of these roads, all this infrastructure was built during the New Deal, or then was built, in the 50s when Eisenhower was building the interstate system, and they've just been sitting there.
Right.
And we patched them here and there, right? We patched them here and there, but we haven't had an overall rehaul of the system. And actually, the feds have been dedicating less and less money to this, which means that more it falls on the state. And of course, in a state like New Hampshire, where there's really there's no broad-based source of taxation, that the fixing the roads and the infrastructure falls more on the local community, which means your property taxes are going to go way up in order to keep our roads and our bridges open. So what I think when I talk about a New Deal program, I always think of like the Civilian Conservation Corps and the WPA, all those things. We're there now. We need an investment. We need a literally a army of from engineers on down to the guys throwing patch into the holes to fix our infrastructure. And I think that this is a program that can have broad-based support across all the political spectrum because every congressional district in this country has roads. Every congressional district has bridges. Most have airports. Many have seaports. So this is something that it's going to be – this isn't like jobs like, this is going to provide jobs over a summer. I mean, this is going to be jobs for years on end to rebuild our infrastructure and then, of course, in perpetuity to actually maintain them. So once we rebuild the infrastructure, we can't, say, we did a great job and rub our hands and say, well, see you again in 60 years. No, we need to maintain it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've always said, I try to consider myself a fiscal conservative, but when it comes to infrastructure, you can't really, how do you argue against spending that money? It's absolutely essential.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think anyone, too, I mean, just locally here in Manchester, anyone who's been driving around and slowly ruining the suspension on their vehicles would probably agree. Plus, if you watch the news too, there was, I think it was Tokyo, right, where that bridge collapsed, and it's like,
yes,
oh my God, and not that hasn't happened here too, because it has. Thankfully, it's incredibly rare.
We had the one in Minnesota, then there's the one in Philadelphia a couple years ago. It's like,
yeah.
Do we need to have a tragedy where 200 or 300 people are killed before we wake up to this? I don't want to see that happen.
Right. Absolutely agreed. Well, thank you for your time this morning, and I look forward to sharing this with everyone later on the show. And I don't want to keep you much longer because I know you're very busy, especially with your day job. But before we go, too, please just remind everybody where where they can go online as far as if they want to learn more about you. The day that people will be casting their votes is fast approaching. So if there's anything we should know about online resources to learn more about you and your campaign, or even if people want to get involved at the last minute, but it's never too late.
Yeah, no. Any help? So if you go to sort of the mothership is my website. It's o'rourkeforcongress.com. So that's OROURKEFOR Congress.com, and you can see links there to the Facebook page and the Twitter page, and of course we have a campaign email which is very simple: campaign@o'rourkeforcongress.com. And I always tell people this: if you email me something substantive, you have a substantive question, I will answer that. If it's a procedural thing, like how you help, my wife is going to be the one responding to that. But if you have a question, like anything you heard today, send me an email and I'll respond.
And do you have any campaign events coming up that you wanted to plug?
Well, it's funny because you're in Manchester. Tonight is the last Democratic Party candidate forum. Doors open at 6 o'clock. It starts at 6:30 p.m. It's at the Manchester Community College, which, oh boy. The address is slipping my mind right now. But,
well, people can find it online, yeah.
Yeah, it's Manchester Community College. Everyone should know where that is. And it's open to everybody. You don't have to be a member of the Democratic Party to come down, and you're allowed to submit questions. So
very good.
This is a great opportunity. Yeah, so at 1066 Front Street in Manchester.
All right.
So I invite everyone to come on down.
All right, very good. All right, Terence O'Rourke, candidate for CD1 here in New Hampshire. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it. So that was this morning, my conversation with Terence O'Rourke, and I'm glad that I do a show where I don't have to be an impartial journalist. It's an opinion show, and we share our opinions here. So I can say, I really like Terence a lot. That's not an endorsement. I don't endorse candidates, but
have you been on his mothership?
But I like Terence. You mean his website? Actually, Walter in the Facebook live chat would like a link. Yeah, the mothership is his website. It's the mothership because you got your social media sites, and those are like the satellites and launch pads, sure. And then the website is the mothership. So Walter wants Walter, I've already forgotten. Was it just? I think it was just TerenceO'Rourke.com. I'll type it in there for you, but if it's wrong, you might have to Google it. Terence O'Rourke.
You want me to work? No.
So there. Let's see. Oh, and I also see Anthony Thomas is in the Facebook live chat. Hello, sir. I hear that someone might be calling us. Yeah, I did see your question in there too, Walter. For unfortunately, Terence wasn't able to join us live. That was pre-recorded, so I wasn't able to ask him this. But Walter made a comment about wasn't it Eisenhower who warned of the military-industrial machine or complex? Is what actually I think what Eisenhower called it.
Sorry, Walter, your stinky host couldn't ask your question.
Yeah, I think what Eisenhower called it was the congressional military-industrial complex. I wonder what he would think of today's military spending, planning, use, and effects. Yeah, I would like to at some point too, in the future, maybe have Terence in for an extended conversation about that. V wants to call again. Oh yeah, no, the phone line's open now. We will absolutely take V's call. V joined us, was it yesterday? For a bit, but fascinating. And he's very mysterious, as one would expect from, like if my name were simply the letter M, I would be very mysterious as well. People would be like, what's that guy's deal? He's just M.
I'm going to go with I.
I?
I.
Why I?
I.
The letter I?
I.
Or EYE?
I.
All right.
I. See, it works for everything. It would be a song.
I guess. That's not as mysterious. I think, yeah, I mean, I guess.
I dojo quito banana.
By the way, I did look it up. So I did not realize, because it came up during my conversation with Terence O'Rourke, yes, women do now serve in combat. I remember when this was being heavily debated, but I did not realize that it had been resolved in that way. And women, they're given the option. So women can actually serve in infantry now, and apparently have been able to for several years. I didn't realize that. I had no idea. Now they're
That's because you're a little bit slow on the uptake.
I guess. Now they're not required to,
Walter's
but they have
with
the
me.
option. Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
I. Yeah, see, Walter's with me.
Wow. All right then. All right, Walter. Well, 603-250-6007 is the number to call. 603-250-6007. So I know V's going to try to call us again, as well as anyone else who would like to
That
call.
would be cool.
If you'd like to chime in, if you have any thoughts on my conversation with Terence O'Rourke,
I said
or
V
anything
had
else.
a very sexy voice. He had a good radio voice.
He does. I mean, I'm not, I wouldn't call it sexy, but that's because I'm a heterosexual male. Not that there would be anything wrong with me finding his voice sexy. I mean, it's 2018. We need not make any
I
judgments.
thought his voice sounded a little bit on the sexy side.
Like I wasn't?
See, V, you have to call back in order for there to be an opinion on whether or not your voice has a sex appeal to it.
Well, I did say that I know it's a sin, but I do covet his voice. This might be him now. Hello, is that V?
V?
V? I can hear us because we're on a delay.
V?
Oh, yes.
There we go.
There he is.
I was gonna say I can hear V listening to
V,
us.
say hi to everybody.
We're just talking about your voice, V.
Let me try to kill the sound here. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
See what I
Oh,
mean,
really?
ladies?
Yes, yes.
He does have quite the voice.
He's got
I came from radio, and that was such an amateurish thing to do. I'm sorry about that.
See,
Oh,
ladies,
that's
he
okay.
has a sexy voice.
Jenny
a
thinks
nice radio voice.
Jenny thinks your voice is sexy.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I've been hearing that my whole life, so it's like, well, gotta do something with it, right?
All right.
No,
you guys
well-
could handle a compliment. That's a good thing.
There you go. Yes.
There we go.
Yes. Now I also admire your voice, V. I don't necessarily.
He's so lying.
Well, maybe a little
He
bit.
covets your
I
voice.
try to be open-minded.
If he is lying, I'm blushing, although you can't see it.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong team.
Oh my goodness. Well.
Oh, all for you, Maddie.
No,
What's
no.
up with that? It's
No.
always you.
See, this is for
Always you.
this is really for the other show. This is for Matt Connarton Unsheathed, and that's a very different show on a very different platform. Only available.
Bing zoom.
And I'm legally prohibited from telling you how to find that show for legal reasons. Ever since the incident, let's just put it that way.
Oh boy.
The incident, yes.
I
So
was gonna say you're like a better looking Ron Jeremy.
thank
Whoa.
you. Well, I may not resemble him entirely. I am Irish after all. So anyway, what's
man, you're gonna get him blushing.
Oh.
Ron Jeremy of radio.
Wow,
that's it. So that's your new nickname.
I think Ron Jeremy might.
Oh wow.
I think he might have a show actually on Sirius XM. What's
Do you know who he is?
Yeah, of course. Everyone knows who Ron
Just
Jeremy is.
checking.
What's new with you, V?
Well, I was told that you're going live, so I decided to check you out. I didn't know you did a video podcast of your show.
Yes,
That's really cool.
On Facebook Live. Yes,
We're all over the place.
You can see. You can
We're
actually.
on 95.3 FM. We're on WMNHradio.org. We're on cable.
You can actually
Comcast
see.
97.
You can actually see where the magic happens.
He's just gonna keep talking in between my sentences, you know.
Yes.
Well,
I'm
I
in
can
a
tell
mood
you, your
today
setup
with him.
is 10 times better than my setup for my first radio station.
Ah.
Who?
Yeah, but now with your television show, the production, it's very, very cool.
Well, we have had to make things entirely redundant with all the hacking and government censorship. We've got it down, but our guests will have problems usually.
Thermal something
try to-
shift?
No, he said government censorship.
Oh,
I don't know what you were hearing.
I heard thermal something shift.
You were paying too
no,
much.
I seriously need hearing aids.
You were paying so much attention to his voice, you're not hearing what he's actually
That's
saying.
what it is.
You're just focused on the voice
It's the
itself.
sex appeal.
The tonal quality of the voice.
It's
Well,
the sex appeal.
I am a mind control expert.
Well, that's true.
Are
Yes.
you using your trickery on me?
Well, I don't know. I think Anthony already has. Everyone's his fan before they're my fans.
Oh.
Yes.
So you have like minions.
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
So you have your own minions
Minions.
that do your bidding.
No, but I've got a kick butt team of activists who are wanting to come together underneath one banner, and I think we're going to do a lot of good.
What are your goals? What are some of the biggest goals that you guys want to do? If you could achieve like the top 2 goals on your list, what would they be?
Well, while you're thinking about that, V,
Get rid of all.
I was
I was gonna say I was gonna get rid of all corruption, government corruption, corporate corruption, and then have as many children as I can.
Oh. Walter in the Facebook live chat, by the way, says you can't hear the forest while you're imagining the tree. LOL.
Huh?
Oh my! You don't get it? Oh yeah.
Never mind.
Yes.
I got it.
Well, once again, that's more for Matt Connarton Unsheathed. That's the very, very different show.
Oh no.
In fact, I think they actually.
Well,
I think
can
they.
tell you.
Yes, go ahead, V.
Well, I was gonna say I can tell you, living here in Europe, I don't even have to talk. It's just walking down the road. The women look at me and then they look down below my belt. Being a African American, they just instantly wonder.
Wow! Oh my goodness! Don't you?
And where was that? You said you lived again?
It's in Europe.
I live in Europe.
Well, I am gonna be traveling to the European side of the world.
But don't you?
Now, you're going to get my channel destroyed, Jenny.
Oh my goodness!
What
I
do
just
you
got on
mean?
what you got.
How am I going to get you destroyed? I'm only going to go play in Amsterdam and the Netherlands and where else? I'm not sure.
Walter in the Facebook live chat, V, does have a question for you. I don't know if you want to answer it. I don't know how specific you want to be. But he says, question for V, where in Europe and what time is it there? I don't know if you want to answer that or not. No pressure.
I live in Poland, and it's 10:30 p.m.
10:30 p.m. in Poland.
Is it today or tomorrow?
It's still today.
Well, it's wherever
Well, no,
you...
I have friends in Australia. It's tomorrow.
Wherever you
That's
are,
how I
it's
know
today.
whether or not the Armageddon things are real. I watch Australia, and if Australia's still there, then it wasn't real.
Ah, yes. So it's still Thursday. It's still Thursday where you are, V.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there we go. All right.
I thought that was funny.
Yes, yes.
I'll just laugh by myself.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, we're all
I
laughing.
thought it was kind of funny.
We're all laughing with you.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You're laughing at me, maybe. But not with me. That's not happening.
V, have you heard any feedback from our conversation yesterday on the air?
Actually, I have.
Oh,
and,
good.
you know, people are appreciating that the word is coming out.
Yes.
What's going on with the technocracy under which we all live.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, good. And they enjoyed our discussion and all that.
Absolutely. And I need to clarify because I had a lot of people panicking. When you asked how, what individuals would get targeted, and I explained, and even up to the people who have their own, situation where they work for themselves and that sort of thing. You're not gonna get targeted if you're Caucasian persuasion and you don't have any political views. You're safe. They still want the money that you're earning for the system, but if you're like Alex Jones, and we all see what's happening to Alex Jones right now.
Yes, absolutely.
And you've got a little bit of change in your pocket. They're going to do their best to try to demonize you or try to get you.
Yes. Well, I am Caucasian. I do have political views, but I do have change in my pocket, but that's about it. Just a little bit of change,
I guess I dodged a bullet.
Why?
You've got a radio jingle.
Because I got kind of into a lot of it there for a while.
Into a lot of what?
Politics, activism.
Yes.
Ending up on websites and
oh, yes.
all that stuff. Boy, I'm lucky.
Hello to Christian Cunard, who joins us in the Facebook live chat.
Hi, Christian. Glad to see your internet's back. She was having an internet trouble.
Oh, well, she may have been targeted.
She is in
Well, I actually have 2 internet services
Ohio?
up right now, and I guess that's because I was scheduled to come on.
Hey, what's your you brought up Alex Jones. What's your take on Alex Jones, V? Do you have an opinion about him?
I was going to ask him that. Why'd you jump on my question?
Haha. I'm just that good.
Well, I think Alex Jones is a great truth warrior, one of the best. He's a hero of our day. Enlightened a lot of people, I would believe. I know when I was targeted, I believe it's another reason why I was targeted. Not just the talking about the NSA, but I was listening to a lot of Alex Jones around that time period. Not to discourage anyone from listening or viewing any of his material.
Yes.
But this whole hate speech thing is ridiculous. A person has free speech. Now, I know there are extremes, and just like with TV or video games, these people can have a rating system. Facebook can have a rating system. YouTube can have a rating system. I think hate speech should not be easily accessible, but we should all have the freedom to listen.
Mm-hmm.
If we can determine what's hate speech and what's not. I know someone told me something about him wanting to burn all the trannies, transsexuals, or and putting a hit on some guy, but you know, I don't think that's something that he really meant to say, or if he did, still, it's
Yeah, I've never.
freedom of speech. If you don't like what he's saying, don't listen.
Yeah, I've never heard him really directly advocate violence against anyone. I mean, he does talk about revolution and so forth, but I mean, but I don't think I've ever heard him talk about,
He implies it at times.
Yeah, but to target specific people with violence, I don't think he advocates. I don't think he advocates for that. At least I would hope not.
Tree of patriotism must be.
Yeah, I mean, he does.
He has either.
Yeah. I mean, he does in broader, in a broader way talk about revolution and all that. But,
How do you feel about him getting taken down from YouTube's blocking him, Twitter's blocking him, Facebook's blocking him?
Yeah, I mean, really,
I don't know if he's still on GCN network, even, to tell you the truth.
I think he still has all his radio stuff. I think, but yeah, he's been blocked on a lot of social media.
Are you concerned that that's going to happen to you?
Me? No. I'm very sweet with my words. I can tell these people what I'm going to do to them, and that's just, they have to accept it. I just.
Well,
but
now,
with your question with Alex Jones, I think if he's a free agent, I'm making plans already to work with him in some ways to get him back up into the spotlight.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe I could tag along with him.
Very interesting.
well, that could be interesting.
Yeah, and he is quite successful. So that's that. I mean, that would expose you to a huge audience. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, YouTube's days are numbered. Facebook's days are numbered as well. I'm talking to a lot of people. There are a lot of underground efforts going, and we're going to have some alternatives that are going to be more.
What do you think's going to take the
viable and
place?
less under the constraints of government.
You think government's
I'm sorry,
going
go
to
ahead.
create something that takes its place? Do you think that government's going to
It's gonna
create?
be we the people that's going to take over. I mean, that's what we're doing already. We have truther media. People are flocking away from Mockingbird, mainstream mediocrity, mind control, and over to truther media. People are tired of listening to the same crap that has no end in sight. At least we truthers want to talk about revolution. At least we want to talk about abolishing corrupt institutions like CPS or the CIA. At least we have an end goal.
Yeah.
So why is it, do you think, that Trump was put in place to become president? If you're comfortable answering
Do you
that.
really think he was just put into place, or who do you think put him into place?
Well, my understanding is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I understand you correctly, there are powers that be behind the scenes, like the Illuminati and the Bilderbergers, who pick who they want, and they're kind of, I guess, out there, the face. Am I right? Is that what it is that you say? I don't want to put words into your mouth.
And it's just, well, if you want my opinion, it's just going to be an opinion. I think they thought Trump was going to play ball. And let's not call them Illuminati, at least not while I'm on the air. They're Illumitards, okay? Or the
What do you call them?
They're anything but enlightened.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I think that they they thought he was going to play ball. He was going to succumb to his greed and make every deal humanly possible and be the world's biggest. I'm not sure if I can say the word on your show, but the biggest person to be bought. But it seems like he does want to do his own thing. He does want to do some things that are right. And I think we should show him a little support, especially if he's jailing feds. That's what I've seen. He's getting rid of a lot of people in the intelligence community. And that is our biggest cesspool of corruption. It's not the politicians. It's not even the bankers themselves. It's those who are behind the doors with secret clearances, top high-level clearances.
So do you
There are
think
all
all that
kinds of
stuff that was in
crimes
the
being
news
committed
about
that-
people not being able to get clearance was fake news?
I didn't hear the first part of that question.
So when there was all the problems in the beginning of people not being able to get their clearance, that thought they were going to just get handed clearance, do you think that threw a rock into their plans, messed things up? Or do you think that
Well,
that
I
was
know
just like a
that he's making some
distraction,
people
fake news?
Angry, that's for sure. This Brennan guy. Oh, I'm so glad his clearance got revoked. You know, this Brennan guy came out onto a podium, talked about geoengineering, and it's like, yes, okay, it's real. Yeah, we're chemtrailing. And the really stupid thing that really gets me angry, I've been seeing chemtrails since I was 5 or 6 years old, and the whole country's divided. Are chemtrails real? Are they not real? You know, for those of us that can see what's in front of us, we know that's real. And for those that can be told a lie and want to so desperately believe the lie that they're not real, is they're contrails. And you know, they swallow stuff, but this Brennan guy is forced to come out on the podium and say that yes, it's real. And the world is still divided on if chemtrails are real or not. So here we have a government official who is telling us our reality. You know, we've been lied to for 20, 30 years about chemtrails, but now he's telling us that it's real. And the country is still divided. So this is the problem that we have. Everyone just wants to be divided, and I don't think it really matters who has a clearance. We need smart people, realistic people who are not cowards, to step up and speak out. Let's get the science done. All we need to do is have things analyzed. Let's do the science. There was an airplane that followed behind one of these jets and collected samples of the chemtrails. Ever since that happened, that's been made illegal. Why? Because they don't want this information to come out. We can't do anything for ourselves in the face of these covert, classified crimes. They're still crimes. They're classified. I don't care.
Well, that's interesting. Well, V, listen, we're getting to the top of the hour. We got to take a break, so we're going to wrap up with you for now. But before we do that, please go ahead and plug your stuff so people know where to find your show and the Red Pill Hardcore and all that. Anything we need to know?
Yes, you can go to tlbtv.com to view the latest episodes of the show, or you can go to my archive as well. I have my old radio show on Mixcloud, mixcloud.com, _red_pill. And also, I have a website, actually, the Red Pill Hardcore Online.
Yes.
And I can be found on your wonderful network, IPM Nation. You have a tab for me now on your website.
That's right, VTV. Yes, yes, indeed. All right,
and you're going to get a lot of shows because I'm starting up a CPS TV show with Judge Julie Ketterman, famous CPS lawyer, whistleblower, and starting up show with Eric Wilkinson. Again, you know him.
I know Eric.
We have a show called Infotainment. And I have a show called Targeted with, her name, Kristen D. Manners.
Okay.
Targeted. So it's an interview show for all TIs who want to talk about their experiences. People want to learn more about target individuals.
Wow.
It's going to be any TI can call in and book an interview with us to tell your story. So also do that with us as well. My email is thetruthpharmacy@gmail.com.
All right. Very good.
Oh, thank you for the information.
Yeah. All right, V. Well, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you for letting me be on.
Always a pleasure, and we'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure. Keep up the good work.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, V. Bye-bye. All right. You're listening to Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We're going to take a break, and I know
Before you do, Walter in the chat room said chemtrails being real and exactly what they are two very different questions.
All right. Well, I know I played this the other day, but I love this so much. I'm going to play it again. This is Don McGann Man, a parody of Rubber Band Man by my favorite YouTuber, Rocky Mountain Mike. The fallout from Don McGann's impending departure from the White House continues to be felt. And I might play a little something else too.
Definitely well done.
Yeah,
well done.
And then we'll be back in a couple minutes. You're listening to Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We are live on WMNH.
Stay tuned.
We're all down with that. Hurry now, don't be late, 'cause it's time to catch that rat. You and me, we're logging on to see his latest crimes. Guaranteed to blow your mind, the shit's about to go down. Hey Trump, prepare yourself for the Don McGann. Man, you never heard a sound like a Don McGann. Man, Trump, he will lose control when the Don McGann starts to jam. You say this cat's out of sight. Everything he says seems to check out right. Says who?
Breaking news, the FBI today raided the offices of President Trump's longtime attorney, Michael Cohen, seizing records.
No more porn star banking. Silenced about that spanking. Busting right into your house. The FBI. This is where Stormy begins. This is goodbye. Cohen me, Cohen you.
Says who? Says who?
There is nothing he could do. Cohen me, Cohen you.
Says who? Says who?
Trump just has to face it this time. He's through.
He's really through. Trump's really through.
Cover-ups are never easy. I know, but he has to go.
Trump's got to go.
Cohen me, Cohen you. It's the worst Trump can do.
You're not a nice person.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's hour number 2. Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM. It is Thursday, August 30th, 2018. 603-250-6007 is the number to call. 603-250-6007. Walter in the Facebook live chat says, just got to say, these parody songs are surprisingly tight, good production value. Yeah, that's most of the ones that I play. Like I said, he's my favorite YouTuber. This guy, Rocky Mountain Mike. He's really he's very prolific with the song parodies. I'm also quite fond of Roy Zimmerman. Sometimes I play his stuff. They're kind of my two go-tos. Although Roy only puts out stuff here and there, like maybe every 2 or 3 weeks. But Rocky Mountain Mike really cranks them out quick, and they're just great. And you know what's funny too with the song parodies is how they continue to be timely even after they've initially come out, because these little well, we won't call them scandals. These things that happen, these things that go on in the Trump administration have a funny way of just kind of lingering and continuing to percolate. It's not like they just blow over, you know what I mean? So, by the way, so I don't want to spend much more time on it because I want to move on to some other things. But just quickly, because we did have, before the break, we were talking to V from the Red Pill Hardcore, and he mentioned John Brennan talking about chemtrails. And I was not aware of him or anyone in the government ever saying anything publicly about this, but I Googled it, and I did find a clip. Now, I have not pre-screened this, but there is something here on YouTube. CIA Director John Brennan admits to chemtrails, stratospheric aerosol injection. I'm just going to go ahead and play this, and let's see what we get.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community. On the technical side, greenhouse gas emission reductions would still have to accompany SAI to address other climate change effects, such as ocean acidification, because SAI alone would not remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations. Others might seize on SAI's benefits and back away from their commitment to carbon dioxide reductions. And as with other breakthrough technologies, global norms and standards are lacking to guide the deployment and implementation of SAI and other geoengineering initiatives. Now, I could go on and on and on and on about the things that fascinate me, but rather than talk about them, I thought I'd stop here.
So obviously,
what kind of a man is this?
So obviously he doesn't, John Brennan doesn't use the term chemtrails there, but I guess that's what he's talking about. Okay. But I did want to move on to some other exciting things. Our president, I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but sometimes he makes, on occasion, outrageous claims. I know this is stunning. The newest one, I mean, every day there's something new. What was it, yesterday or the day before? It was Google is against him and this and that. According to Mediaite, now, many of you will remember the interview, the sit-down interview that he did with Lester Holt from NBC News, where he discussed the Comey firing. Apparently Trump, in the 15 months that has elapsed since that interview, he has realized that he was being messed with by NBC News, and they edited this whole thing to make him look bad. Mediaite reports Trump accuses Lester Holt of fudging Russia interview, and no one knows what he's talking about. And there is a clip of the. You know what? I'll go ahead and I got to get into the habit of doing this anyway. I'm going to put in the Facebook live chat the link to the Mediaite article, because there is in the article the full
I think
13
you should.
minutes.
I think
of,
you should have to prove what you're saying.
Yes, the full 13-minute interview is in the article. It says here, more than a year after Donald Trump told Lester Holt that he fired FBI Director James Comey with the Russia investigation in mind, the president accused the NBC News anchor of fudging their interview. In a Thursday morning tweet railing against NBC News and the media, Trump wrote, "When Lester Holt got caught fudging my tape on Russia, they were hurt badly." Oh, my goodness. I hadn't heard of this, Lester Holt being caught red-handed fudging a tape of an interview. This is news to me. And apparently everyone else. It says here, it's unclear what Trump is referring to. The full NBC News interview was posted online. Trump also said, in fact, this is what Trump said during the interview when asked about the firing of Comey. He said, quote, "In fact, when I decided to just do it, I said to myself, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story. It's an excuse by the Democrats for having lost an election that they should have won," unquote. So that's what he said in the May 11th, 2017 interview. That was 2 days after Trump fired Comey. The firing has raised questions over the possibility that Trump obstructed justice in the Russia investigation, a possibility special counsel Robert Mueller is investigating. The president's allegations baffled Twitter users already struggling to keep up with Trump's frenzied tweet attacks launched this morning. Here's some fun responses.
I can only imagine.
These are always fun. Daniel Dale tweeted, "This, 15 months later, is the first time Trump has publicly accused Lester Holt of fudging my tape of the damaging interview where he said he fired Comey over the Russia investigation. That whole unedited exchange has sat online since May 2017. Brian
But
Class...
he didn't notice it until now, I
guess not, yes. Brian Class tweeted, Trump is lying about Lester Holt. The entire unedited interview was posted online, and Trump is likely lying about it because he now understands that he put himself in legal danger by admitting on camera that he fired Comey because he was investigating Trump's campaign. Nolan Hicks tweeted, "Here's the entire unedited 13-minute exchange between Holt and President Donald Trump."
How do we know that?
Well, that's true. It could be edited.
How do we prove?
What the president alleges in the tweet below didn't happen. Karen M. Cruz tweeted, more than a year later, Trump is suddenly claiming that NBC fudged his interview with Lester Holt, in which Trump admitted he fired Comey over Russia. The full interview is available online.
Do you ever
what
think
exactly
he,
was
like,
fudged?
Totally believes what he says?
Well, that's one of the theories, is that he is just a pathological liar who does believe his own BS.
You fake media. You can't call him a liar.
I know, it's
That makes you fake media.
that's right. One more here. What does FWIW mean? I'm not for
FWI.
I'm not familiar with that particular abbreviation, FWIW. If anyone knows, just put it in the Facebook chat. FW. See, now I got to look it up. I need to know.
Fake.
It's in the. It's in this tweet, but I've never seen this one before.
Funny with
FWIW. Let's see. For what it's worth. Duh.
Oh,
That one's. It seems so obvious, and yet I'd never seen it. I'd never seen that.
I'm over here going funny,
All right.
fake. I couldn't figure it out.
So Aaron Blake tweeted, "For what it's worth, the entire Lester Holt interview has been posted to NBC's website ever since May 2017. If there's something exculpatory in it, Trump might want to point it out." So, so this obviously is pretty ridiculous. That all of a sudden, 15 months later, he's going, "Hey, they edited my interview." So ridiculous that even Fox.
He's been busy. He's had Stormy to deal with, and
That's
he's
right.
had, Cohen to deal with, and he's had all these other. You gotta cut him some slack. He had a lot of trouble to deal with, and then the chemtrails fall on his head, and.
So Mediaite reports Fox News.
I love it when he ignores me and just continues on. No response whatsoever.
I heard you. I didn't
No
know.
response
There wasn't
whatsoever.
anything to respond to.
Wasn't anything to respond to. Wise guy.
Yes. Fox News today casually destroyed President Donald Trump's tweeted claim that NBC nightly news anchor Lester Holt was caught fudging his interview with the president regarding the firing of James Comey. So I'm going to play the clip. This is pretty good. This is of Howard Kurtz and company. Now, keep in mind, though, the reason it's relevant is it's Fox. And whenever Fox turns against
Fox
Trump...
is fake news. Fox is fake news. Fake Fox.
Well, no. Well,
Fox,
Trump
Fox.
loves Fox, but it must wound him.
Well, it depends on which
when they,
side of the aisle you're on. If it's CNBC, then it's fake news. Fox. Real news, fake news.
Well,
real
he
news,
loves
fake
Fox
news.
because they're normally on his side. But
So we're taking Trump's side on this, so we're saying it's real news.
Well, what they say here in this clip is real. They point out how ridiculous this claim is. Here, this is Howard Kurtz and I think John Roberts. It's gonna. Oh, even though I already cleared the ad, it's playing a new ad. I hate when it does that.
I think you don't actually clear the ads. I think you just say that
That's
to
a-
cover up for your mistake.
Dumb media website. Okay, here we go.
And that Andy Lack, the president of NBC, should go. President Trump has every right to push back hard against what he views as unfair media coverage, and especially on this flawed CNN story. But a president of the United States should not be calling for the firing of two heads of private companies simply because he disagrees and doesn't like their media coverage of him. That is a step too far. It is using the bully pulpit in a way that feels like a personal grudge, especially in the case of Jeff Zucker, who had been on leave after surgery for serious heart problems, and who had been friendly with Trump when he ran NBC and Trump had The Apprentice there. If President Obama had said, hey, Fox News, you should get rid of Roger Ailes because I think your coverage of me is unfair, there would have been an explosion on the right.
Here is the tweet from the president when he writes, what's going on at CNN is happening at different degrees, 2 different degrees at other networks, with NBC News being the worst. The good news is that Andy Lack, adding a Y to his name, is about to be fired for incompetence, and much worse, when Lester Holt got caught fudging my tape on Russia, they were hurt badly. So there is, as you say, the president suggesting that a major network head ought to be fired. But at the same time, what's this business about fudging the Russia tape? Is there any evidence that the interview with Lester Holt that the president did was somehow doctored?
Absolutely not. You showed part of it earlier with John Roberts. This was an interview last year, 2 days after the president fired Jim Comey at the FBI, and he gave an explanation that set off a firestorm, saying it was, in his mind, related to the Russia investigation. There's no credible allegation that NBC or Andy Lack or Lester Holt edited that interview in a misleading way. And by the way, NBC posted the whole thing online, so people can look at it. The president also is referring to rumors, and that's all they are at this point, that Comcast might decide to drop Andy Lack, just as he's saying that AT&T should drop Jeff Zucker. I want to say again, I've been very critical of these news organizations at times for unfair reporting, but I don't think the president should be calling for anyone to be fired.
So there you go. That's Fox News calling the president to task, and I'm sure it wounds him when that happens.
I said, what kind of a man is this?
You know, it must feel like a terrible betrayal.
You know, Anthony says I'm funny.
Yes, I saw that. Anthony Thomas in the Facebook live chat.
Says,
Yes,
I'm funny.
Yes.
Didn't say you were funny. Said I'm funny.
Aren't I funny?
Hoppy came in.
He's
Hi,
funny.
Hoppy.
Aren't you funny?
Hi. Sometimes.
How is everything?
Mostly I'm hoppy.
Is everything more positive than it was?
Yes, it is.
Good. Good.
Everything is
It's always,
copacetic.
it's good to see things be positive.
Yeah.
Things have been talked out.
Yes.
We're
Everything's fine.
being intentionally vague. Good. I'm glad everything's
We're
fine.
all being, yeah.
Yes, yes.
No mediation was necessary.
No, just 2 old friends talking to each other.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So it wasn't like an interrogation or anything.
No, no.
As we crawl down the rabbit hole and make this sound even more interesting.
And which it's not.
It really isn't.
I have a reactive mind, as they would say.
But you've reached
That's
a
one
synergy?
way of putting it.
Yes, yes. Do you believe Trump's claim that Lester Holt fudged their interview from 15 months ago?
I have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
What
Did
about
you even know that?
No. Is Lester Holt still employed?
Of course.
No, I don't think the interview got fudged.
I didn't even know. I don't know who media personalities are anymore.
Oh, my goodness. Why
I just
not?
think he figured it out recently that it was there and didn't know prior to.
Well, what is it about? I just...
Yeah, it's him, but he was doing so many interviews at the time. I don't believe that he even remembers doing the interview.
But it's
I think when he actually says, "Oh, they cut it or whatever," I think he really believes what he's saying. I don't think that he's lying. I think he truly and honestly believes the baloney he's trying to sell you.
Yeah, because, if you... And I don't mean this, but if you are, delusional or have a personality disorder, you do believe your delusions.
Yes.
Or you have a pattern of behavior.
Yes. Walter in the Facebook live chat says, slightly off topic, but a society where each individual takes full responsibility for their own actions and is for the most part honest would not need governing. So, question, is the end goal of democracy anarchy? Is anarchy, by which I mean a system without need of overseers, the evolution of civilization? In other words, is some form of anarchy the ideal?
See, sounds like a communist.
Say,
Oh, my.
okay, so just because somebody takes full responsibility doesn't make them a good person. I can take full
That's
responsibility for murder. That doesn't make me a good person. Yeah, I did it. What are you going to do about it? So
True.
there's your anarchy. There's your no government. What are you going to do about it?
Yes, yes.
Well, in Marxism, there's a withering away of the state because you have you have heaven on earth.
And you can't just simply say, "Oh, well, if you just said that, then we'll just institute justice and we'll take your life." What if it turns out that there's something mentally wrong with me and I really didn't do it, but I'm running around saying I did?
Anthony Thomas says, good point, Jenny.
It's hard to do some of these things when you're on.
Anthony.
It's hard to deny certain things when you are on tape. Although Trump is.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything. I worked in healthcare. I had people that came in that thought they were different people or thought they had different people living inside of them. They had something going wrong with their brain that didn't make what was coming out of their mouth the truth.
So when our favorite president, even if you presented him saying something, he would still see what he wants to see?
Maybe.
That's true.
Yes.
Something's wrong there.
But maybe that's the key to his success, the self-delusion.
Nixon was only, a severe alcoholic with whatever problem.
Gene Simmons.
No, but there's a big difference between Nixon and Trump.
Yes.
Oh, huge.
Nixon knew.
I think
right from wrong.
And Trump has never touched alcohol.
In some cases, I think Trump really is trying to do the right thing. You just may not agree with it.
I think he acts purely out of self-interest.
Some people may agree with it. I don't think entirely.
I don't think he cares
I don't
about
think
doing
entirely.
the right thing.
Then that's to say that he has no empathy whatsoever and
He probably
he's psychotic.
He probably
I
is.
think he does
He
have
probably
some
is.
empathy. I think he does have some compassion for people.
Maybe. I don't know.
In the immediate circle.
I wouldn't go that far as to say that he has absolutely no empathy.
It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't. I don't know.
How can you be so cold and callous?
How can I be?
Yeah.
I'm a radio host.
What is it about him that makes you think that he is that cold, that callous?
Oh, why is he? How can I think he is?
That uncaring, that has no empathy.
I just don't see any evidence that. I mean, he expects.
What evidence proves that he has no empathy?
He
John
expects,
McCain, his attitude towards John McCain.
There you go. That's a great example. Yeah. And he sat there with his arms folded while being asked, do you have anything to say about? And he sat there like a child pouting because he was being asked by those reporters, do you have anything to say about John McCain? And he had to be dragged. The guy dies and he had to be dragged kicking and screaming
Okay, I
just
have to
to
give
say
you that
something
one.
nice. No, I think
I
he's,
have to give you that one.
I think he's a sociopath.
That's
have to give you
indicative.
that one.
That's indicative of who he is.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of criticism you can make of John McCain, and John
Shoot.
McCain would
I
actually
really thought
admit
I was
to.
going to win that argument. I really did.
No.
Really did.
But
No.
what he said about John McCain, and we talked about the POW comment within its context of the society of the time.
Yeah.
And I had an attitude like that, but it evolves when you actually deal with it, like the
Right.
VA and POWs and stuff, but not our favorite president.
Yeah.
And it's beyond anything.
Yeah.
Beyond anything. Like, I mean, this is done in public. You know, Nixon had his enemies list, but he was not denouncing, you know, Paul Newman and Dan Rather in public. No,
No.
he used Spiro Agnew for that.
Oh, what I was going to say earlier, though, I brought up Gene Simmons because Gene talks about self-delusion. Of course, Gene obviously is a real, you know, a good person, or at least, well, he's one of my heroes,
Somebody's
obviously.
biased.
But, well, yes, no, I am.
Well, he's married to Shannon
I'm
Tweed.
extremely, right, exactly.
That makes you a good person.
There you go.
Well,
But-
it took him how many years to marry her?
That's true.
25?
And how many kids?
Yeah, two. They have
Two?
two kids. But Gene talks about self-delusion in a positive way. He talks about how you should think you're the, like, he talks about looking in the mirror and believing that he's looking at this incredibly handsome man, even though intellectually he knows that he's not. But that's what he believes. He makes himself believe that he is, and that he's this, you know, he's the smartest guy on earth and all of this, and that has helped him succeed. That incredible self-belief, and he describes it as self-delusion. He says, I'm completely delusional about myself, and that is what has helped me to succeed.
Well, as an artist, you have to have a huge ego to be able to drive yourself through the entire rejection.
Yeah.
And your whole life is you're throwing it away, essentially. But then there's like somebody like Marlon Brando who could look. You have to be able to look at yourself like a performance and be able to dissect yourself.
Yeah.
And have like if you don't have the critical capacity and then to change yourself, you won't succeed, or you're just going to be a one-trick pony. Perhaps.
Yes.
But and there are other actors, because I used to write about Hollywood.
Yeah.
That wouldn't do that. Richard Burton, for all his talent, just didn't care about that, and you know, he cared. He was after the money.
Now, when you say dissect yourself, are you talking about cutting?
Cutting your performance.
Oh! I thought you meant something else. Okay.
Brando knew everything about the acting, although he pretended he didn't. How
What do you
a
mean
key light
cutting
gets
the
you.
performance? Dissecting your
dissecting.
performance is to take it apart and
You're right. And you have to be
see
able
what
to do
you
that.
like or don't like about it, or what you could improve or not improve about it.
Right, you have to have a
You're not
critical
cutting
capacity.
anything.
I thought you meant being like an emo kid.
What's an emo kid?
Stop that.
What?
Emo? Are they some type
You're
of
making like an assumption.
Cabbage
I
patch?
do. I make assumptions.
You are.
I do. Yes.
You are. You're terrible.
I am.
Walter wrote something in the way
I'm worse than Trump.
Oy. Walter wrote something in the chat room, but I can't read it because stupid Facebook puts all the finger and the heart and the happy face right over the words that
Says
the
who?
guy types.
Oh, I can read
So
it.
I can't even read it.
Says who?
It says, I agree.
I'm gonna whack him with that button.
Shut up.
I agree
I'm gonna
that
throw something at him.
I agree that that communism and Marxism are failed experiments. I'm talking about ideals. What is or should be the goal of a healthy culture? What are we aiming at in the long view? Very philosophical question.
He wants to make me think. That's gonna make my brain hurt.
Yeah, it's hard to transition to that after talking about Trump.
I know, really.
My goodness.
Well, Matt,
Walter,
What
that
are-
wasn't fair.
What are we aiming for in the long
That
view?
was not fair.
the proper
See,
goal,
now I want to throw this at you instead of Matt.
the
But I only
pro-
got one.
me or the guy in the Facebook.
The guy in the Facebook.
I was talking to Walter.
Not-
Did you hear your name?
Not that we
Did you
advocate
hear
violence.
your name?
We don't
I
advocate
don't know.
violence.
If you hear
I'm
your
a
name,
a
speak
surrogate.
up. If you didn't hear your name, when did Walter sound like John?
I didn't hear you say Walter.
I said Walter. Listen with the clean out your ears.
Well, maybe I'm going on yet
Clean
another
out your
antibiotic.
Oh,
Oh,
jeez.
Third
Jeez.
round.
You seem healthy today, though.
Yes.
You ought to be wearing a mask or something. Whatever the heck you got, we don't want.
Well, I have the Tin Man mask.
No, but doesn't he seem
Liz
healthy?
Roth purloined it.
You look healthy. You look
Yeah,
like
he's going on a third antibiotic. You don't think he should be wearing something to protect the rest of us
It's
from whatever the heck he's
in,
got?
inner ear. It's
inner ear.
inside there.
Is it an ear infection?
I don't
I think
know.
it's in his brain.
Oh. No, but
Let's not go
No,
there.
but you
They
look-
already did 2 MRIs.
You look healthier than the last time I saw you.
Oh, I've lost 20 pounds.
Have you really? Since
Yeah.
the last time I saw you? That's quick.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm
Jeez.
down
'Cause you're-
almost that much.
You were delusional when you saw me last.
I was delusional, yes.
He's often delusional.
Right.
It
I
does
wouldn't
make
know
life
that.
a little bit difficult to deal with it.
That's why I
What
admire Gene
is-
Simmons.
But what is the goal of society? I would say to promulgate.
Where did that come from? That was like
promulgate-
shiny out of the
We're-
middle of nowhere.
No, we're going right back.
Walt-
is to
Walter.
promulgate
Oh,
love.
for Walter.
Love.
Sorry, Walter.
Love.
Love. I like that.
Love.
That's what the show's all about is love.
Love.
The exigencies of love.
Well, you were used to you interned with Bubba the Love
All
Sponge.
you need is
Yes.
love.
They didn't last very long.
No, I don't. I didn't want anything to do with the sponge.
Love.
SpongeBob?
No, Bubba the Love Sponge.
Oh no.
He's-
No.
That was his
His
intern.
career kind of went downhill.
Yes.
After
the incident.
He loved too many sponges.
I still can't believe I was there for that. It's a terrible blemish on
He
my
was
record.
one of the sponges.
Well, we won't get into that. That's another
a
story.
different type of sponge. This is a love sponge.
Yeah.
That's another
exactly.
story for Matt Connarton Unsheathed, which is only available
Maddie
on the
was
dark
a
web.
sponge.
No,
Oh, so is it parthenogenesis? The Yetis can themselves?
Says who?
He's
You're
just pressing that
stabbing me
button
in the
now because
back.
he's got
I don't-
nothing to say. You got him.
I don't mean to.
Keep on stabbing me in the back.
I don't mean to do that.
Yeah. What are you in with a pout?
No, I did just realize though that we're I think we're overdue for the unless someone wants to do it, the traffic report.
Traffic's fine
Where though?
everywhere.
Traffic is good. That's it.
Walter says love is but one of the necessary experiences to
One?
propagate healthy individuals, but I agree
Shush.
on that one note.
Love is everything.
Yes, love is all you need. All you need
Ooh,
is love.
Anthony's gonna send us masks. Good, he can send me one because it's-
Masks.
yeah.
I have my mask, Tin Man.
Well, you need to wear it.
It's in the trunk of my car.
We don't want whatever you got.
I have a picture. My phone's died. My iPhone 5.
I don't trust whatever you got.
Well, it's me in the mask.
Oh.
No, whatever you got that you can't get rid of that you're going on your umpteenth antibiotic. You know you can't use that computer. They took it away from you because you're like a 5-year-old who doesn't know how to use it.
Remember the movie
There
Mask?
there I am, a
with,
mask.
Oy
oh,
vey.
I see. Wait, I got to put the camera on you. I see what you did there.
I'm an orange John Clayton.
Yes, you are. Yes.
Hey, all Irishmen look alike.
Right.
That's about the only thing he can do with that computer because we can't trust him with it.
That's right. Yes.
That was an unfortunate incident with Joel, I
No,
went on
that
his
was
Facebook
you
page.
not knowing what you were doing.
It was espionage, is what it was.
Probably.
Actually,
yes.
maybe he was doing it on purpose.
Doing what?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, maybe he was doing it on purpose.
So
Wasn't
who-
he posting on Joel's page or something? Or,
No.
Oh.
It had to do
yeah,
with
didn't he do something?
it had to do with the love.
He broke the rules.
Had to do with the love sauce.
He broke the rules.
Oh.
He's supposed to be military, but whatever. He broke the rules.
Love saucer.
Love saucer.
I don't want to hear about your personal life.
This has nothing to do with my personal life.
It said love, you said saucer. I don't want to hear it.
Isn't that a Parliament Funkadelic song?
Might be.
Mm-hmm.
has to do with a Senate seat. Well, these things happen.
Oh.
Can I
The-
buy it?
The latest hippo. It's all about aliens here in New Hampshire.
Oh, wow.
Little do we know how much effect
This
they had.
is true because the Border Patrol is set up border. This is actually true. I'm not even kidding around.
Yeah, the
Border
aliens.
Patrol has actually set up checkpoints along I-95 in the state of New Hampshire, coming down through Canada to look for illegal aliens
Well, we
or
have pl-
illegal
We have plenty up on the
immigrants.
4th floor.
or whatever coin term you want to use.
We have one. We actually-
Aliens. If I prefer the term. Well, should we talk about that?
Probably not.
No.
Actually, I think we have one on the phone.
hello, guys.
Palladians.
Oh, my
Hello
goodness,
there,
yes.
darling. How are ya?
Hello, guys.
He just wants to talk to the men.
It's Eric.
Oh, is that? Oh, my
Hello
goodness.
there, wonderful. How
Wow.
are ya?
Eric won't come on the baseball show anymore.
No, I didn't know he had been on. Why will he not come on anymore?
He said it was boring.
The baseball show? Well,
He was sitting right there when he told us.
Are
don't
you
e-
two gonna let him talk? Or
I
you just gonna listen to hello there?
I don't even remember. Yeah, he hung up. I think we offended him. He knew I was going to make fun
Well,
of his
duh.
kidneys again. He had kidney trouble.
Love.
He had kidney stones. Remember that? God, that was funny. Oh, he could have died.
Oh, I do remember that.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Oh, I'd hate to have a
Yeah,
kidney
that
stone.
was
Yes.
something else.
Yeah, I wouldn't enjoy that either.
I think all men should have a kidney stone so they can appreciate their mothers.
I tell you what, let's not get into that Mexican restaurant when you're having a flare-up
Then
of
you know what your
hemorrhoids.
mother went through.
Jeez,
Yeah.
little taste of
Says who?
hell.
Says me. You
Well.
and that button. I'm gonna throw this thing right across the room at you.
No, we don't advocate violence here at WMNH. No,
I know what you don't advocate.
what's that?
Love?
I'm just here as a guest.
Oh, right.
I
yeah.
can advocate whatever I want to.
Oh, well.
Well, as long as you stay
But
within
how do
the
you like that?
as long as you stay within the
Mm-mm-mm.
bounds of good taste.
Always, yes. We do conduct
Says
ourselves
who?
within the bounds of good taste.
Well-behaved women rarely make history.
Says who?
Am I somebody to talk about well-behaved
actually.
anything?
Hmm.
Audrey Hepburn, I think.
What about her?
No, Audrey Hepburn wouldn't have said that.
I forget who said that, to be honest.
Betty Davis?
I don't know.
Sounds like something she'd say.
I don't know. Annie Oakley?
I have no idea. You might have to Google it. By the way, you know this guy DeSantis who made the monkey up comment about his opponent in Florida?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, it's come out now. According to Mediaite, he moderated at one time a racist conspiratorial Facebook group. So this is nothing new to him. It says here, Florida's GOP gubernatorial nominee, Representative Ron DeSantis, administered a racist and conspiracy-obsessed Facebook group until yesterday. Oh, jeez. This is very recent.
He's a U.S. rep. How
Yes.
could he get away with that?
Well,
Florida's not exactly Arkansas.
no,
Yeah, but
apparently
how
it's,
easy is it to create a page of moderator and nobody knows that it's there?
No.
What is? But you know, any.
I can create a page in less than 5 minutes.
But what does that mean? You know, if you have a bunch of people that are on your page that are racist.
Well, why don't you let them finish reading the article and then maybe you'll know what the heck we're talking about?
What is he talking about?
We'll be quiet long enough for him to read it.
It says,
I'm going to throw it at you.
You're acting up.
Yes,
You're trying to make
yeah.
history right here on
Oh,
the air.
that's right. I'm acting up.
apparently he administered the
Spike.
group until yesterday when research from Media Matters staffer Natalie Martinez revealed the lawmaker's role on the page and forced him to leave it. DeSantis, who was under fire yesterday for making what many deemed a racist remark toward his black opponent, Andrew Gillum, helped manage the 95,000-member strong group as one of its 52 administrators. The other managers included failed Arizona Republican Senate candidate and conspiracy theorist Kelly Ward, white nationalist-tied Virginia GOP Senate candidate Corey Stewart, and outspoken anti-Muslim activist Pamela Geller. As for the page's content, members shared posts comparing Parkland High School shooting victims and Black Lives Matters activists to Adolf Hitler, accused NFL players protesting police brutality of kneeling like ISIS, and accusing Muslims of worshiping a religion dedicated to pedophilia, sex slavery, rape gangs, and honor killings. Other members pushed wild conspiracy theories common in right-wing Facebook culture, even claiming the Charlottesville white supremacist rally was actually orchestrated by the left. The news came as DeSantis was already under fire for telling Florida voters not to monkey this up by voting for his Democratic rival Gillum. who is of African American descent. DeSantis' campaign pushed back against those who accused him of using a racist dog whistle with the monkey comment, saying instead that it was mischaracterized. Well, let me just take a moment to congratulate in advance Mr. Andrew Gillum, who I'm fairly certain at this point will be the next governor of Florida.
I think you may be right there.
I think so.
I think you may be right there.
I think this Facebook
Call me
group
crazy.
it's a bridge
Call
too
me
far.
crazy.
Even for Florida, it's a they used to years ago on Loveline when it was Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew. They would occasionally play this game called Germany or Florida, where they would have a news story that one of them would read, and then listeners would have to call in and guess, did this happen in Germany or in Florida? This crazy story. But this story happened in Florida.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yes.
Florida is crazy.
Yes. Yes.
That's why they had all the hanging chads.
You have no comments, Mr. Hopwood?
I haven't been to Florida since 1976.
Do you miss it?
No, I never liked it.
I hear those palmetto bugs are pretty scary.
That's a fun way of saying a cockroach with wings. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Size of them too.
Yeah, they're huge.
Plus, they have terrible people there, like this Ron DeSantis guy.
He's a congressman.
Yes, he's a terrible person.
He must have virtue then to be in the U.S. Congress.
Oh, right.
Oh, really? So you're siding with the racists?
Says who? Says who?
Says me. I'm calling you out.
I'm just saying, if you're in Congress, you have to be virtuous, don't you?
Of course.
You just
You're there
heard
to-
that the guy was a racist.
There to
so
serve the people.
You're backing him, so you're a racist.
Well, there you go.
By the way, Anthony Thomas in the Facebook live chat says Loveline is V's favorite radio show. Adam and Drew, best team ever.
What's Loveline?
That's because V and
Yeah.
I are going to have a date. That's
Oh
what it is.
my
That's
goodness!
right.
So Loveline, and I think Loveline is still on the air as a syndicated show, but now it's no longer. Dr. Drew Pinsky is still there, but it's with a different host because Adam Carolla had left the show a long time ago. But now Adam Carolla, I think it's called the Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew Show. Now they do a podcast together online, so they are reunited.
But what's Loveline?
What's
the shtick?
It's a show where people call in
How
with
can you not figure that out?
people call
I have
in
no
with,
idea.
with questions about relationships, about sex, about STDs, and all kinds of
Do
stuff.
you remember the birds and the bees?
All kinds
and
of
how babies
shenanigans.
are made and all
Sounds
that?
like a phone sex line.
No, it's actually a pretty entertaining show,
Oy vey.
or at least it was back when I used to listen to it, because when I used to listen to the show, Dr. Drew, of course, would answer these questions from a medical perspective, and then Adam Carolla, as the comedian and partner, would be, like the smart ass and interject things and make fun of people. And actually, the chemistry of the two of them is phenomenal.
Oh.
So, Walter,
How
in the,
much further are you going to fall for it?
fall for what?
For him. Every question, you just fall for it.
Fall
like
for
he
what?
doesn't know the answer.
I have no idea what Loveline
He knew
was.
what the answer was.
I
He
don't
was
think
just
he-
No, I
getting you to
don't.
go into it.
I don't think he did.
I
have
think
no
he did.
idea.
Walter says, in Congress must be virtuous only in step 3 of my ideal fantasy of healthy anarchy. LOL.
But they could be virtuous in the sense of virtue from Machiavelli.
All right.
Maybe
Exactly.
I was referring to that.
Oh,
You
well.
use the big words now.
Virtue?
Truth isn't truth.
I think that's
What do
important
you
to
mean
remember,
truth
too.
isn't truth?
Ask Mayor Giuliani. He's America's mayor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yet Chuck Todd apologized to him because if you listen to the entire thing.
Is that true? Chuck Todd actually apologized to Giuliani?
Yes.
Did he really?
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
He was making a point.
Well, good for
about
Chuck
in
Todd.
a deposition.
Yes. No, I mean, I agree with you. As you had explained quite eloquently on the show that day, Giuliani was making a larger point.
And you cut it down to that. It's like Kerry saying, I voted for before he voted against
And you
Yes.
cut it down, so it's your fault.
I did.
That's a
It is my fault.
parliamentary procedure in the Senate, all right?
I said, what kind of a man is this?
Who was he referring to
And
that?
what did he answer to?
Bubba the
and
Love
what kind of
Sponge?
man was it?
when he said that, he was referring to Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III, your Attorney General of these United States. Have you heard my Lindsey Graham? Were you here when I did the Lindsey Graham? Jenny was here. I don't think you were here. I actually managed to do an impression fairly well. My Lindsey Graham impression is not bad.
Let's hear it.
Well, I can't just do it on command. I'm not a dancing bear. How dare you? That's not how I work
Why
as a
not?
performer. Because.
What kind of a host are you? You can't do it on command.
I said, what kind of a man is this?
I can't.
I mean,
I have to be.
A man who can do it on command, well.
I have to be inspired. I need some Lindsey Graham. I need something new. I mean, all I have from Lindsey Graham lately is him complaining about Trump and John McCain.
If you all can't bring up the Lord and talk about him in relation to this here country,
I don't know. I don't really hear.
then you just no, that ain't working.
Lindsey
It's not
Graham
working.
doesn't really talk about
No,
the
I
Lord
was
much.
trying to get
He
you
was
going.
in Arizona, I'm sure, because that was a close friend of
I was
McCain.
trying to get you going.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah.
Wasn't working though.
What I'd like to do someday is
Yeah, it didn't.
because I've always
get you
thought this
going.
would be a fun experiment. I might actually guest host the show as Lindsey Graham. Maybe I'll do that
We'd
tomorrow.
have to hear your
I think
Lindsey
that would
Graham
be
right
really,
now.
really bad.
I don't think I can do it spontaneously.
See, if you can't do that, then you can't do a show like that.
Well, I need to get into the correct headspace.
Well, then get into the headspace.
I need to become
What
Lindsey
kind
Graham.
of a pro are you?
I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
To become Lindsey Graham?
Salary might be good. What is it?
Sound like them, look
$187,000
like
a year.
them,
What is
big
it?
old ties like them.
What does the
I think
senator
he
get?
gets Trump ties.
187 grand a year.
I don't know. Sounds about
About that.
That sounds about right.
Travel.
That's not enough.
Travel.
Oh, no, they can't live on that. That's got them in the pauper house.
If in Washington D.C. it does.
Oh, it's got them in the pauper house.
I'm sure Lindsey Graham is quite wealthy at this point.
Well, let's hear him. Tell us that he's quite wealthy.
No, I can't.
See,
I'm going to save it for that special day where I decide to guest host the entire show in character. And I'm actually serious about doing that. I think I'm really going to do it.
Oh, Lord.
I think I'm going to do it. But we'll see.
This is not going to be good.
What was that?
That was my computer. I'm
That
preparing.
was him pressing the wrong buttons again.
I'm preparing the closing song. We got to
You
wrap
notice
up
how
soon.
exciting I am about this.
Because
Rob Azevedo's coming in?
no, the Dions.
I
It's
saw
Thursday.
Rob today.
Now that is exciting.
I was up at the VA filming, and there was Rob.
Oh, what was he doing?
Trying to run me down.
Trying to rub you down?
Yeah, he was
I thought
rubbing
you
me
said
down.
run me down.
It was part of yes, you heard it right.
I think he's
but,
married.
Oh, okay.
He needs the whatever they have in their are those do Yetis have ears?
Yes.
How do you swab them out?
We don't.
They use really long Q-tips.
They like with a dog, and you use the preparation with the
Kind of
watermelon
like
and
one of
cucumber.
those things that you use to sneak a toilet with. You know, it's on
Oh.
a thing. You just
You guys,
roll it out.
Those are some big ears.
You guys need to look at National Geographic once in a while. You're very ignorant about Yetis. There are birds that just land on us and clean our ears.
And they got
Ugh.
long
Wow.
beaks.
Yeah, they do.
Birds don't have tongues.
I
right?
had to stop myself for a second. I almost did a different
You
word.
mean like the head of the National Enquirer? They have long, the woodpecker pecked on the schoolhouse door. He
oh my.
pecked and he pecked. We'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Oh, wasn't that a hilarious thing in the second grade in 1967?
No.
All right, well, we do need to wrap up because the Dions are going to be coming in for the weekly Dion, which is
Suave.
live at
Yes,
6 p.m.
Walter.
Oh,
right
it's
here.
going to be a real grudge match today, They're going to do the steel cage thing. Is it razor wire today or just a steel cage?
Oh, I don't know, but any of that sounds exciting.
Who were they taking on today?
I don't know.
I know the Battling Samoans is coming up. They're going to do that at the Hopkinton Fair.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. I look forward to
The
that.
babbling Samoans are going to be in the
The ba-
Hopkinton Field.
Yeah, the Babbling Samoans are going to take on the Dions
I
in
didn't
a real
even know
grudge
they were
match.
there. Oh, that'd be cool.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm going up to see the rodeo.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do need to wrap up. So thank you, Jenny. Thank you, John Hopwood. Thank you to everybody in the Facebook live chat.
Thank you, Lindsey Graham.
Thank you, Lindsey Graham.
Thank you,
Thank
Dean
you,
Kamen.
Maddie.
Lindsey Graham.
Thank you, Anthony.
There
Thank
goes
you,
Steen.
Walter. Thank you, Christine.
Yep, and thank you, of course, to...
Uh-oh, I think the match is
The
already
romper
starting
room.
outside.
no.
Did you hear that?
I did, yes.
The romper room.
And thank you to Terence O'Rourke, of course, and I'll
They
be
brought
back
the
tomorrow.
calf. They brought the calf with them.
Oh, jeez. Well, that's
I don't approve of calf roping.
going to be an exciting evening.
Not in
All
the
right.
city limits.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow.
We're out of here.
Don't forget, if you miss any part of today's show, it will be up and available in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. And we'll end with a little Tom Russell, Who's Going to Build Your Wall. I'll talk at y'all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.